first item that we'll address this evening is the swearing in of the 3 trustees that recently won election to the board. Brenda Robinson, Jennifer Terrett, and Sarah Shearer. We'll swear everybody in that order. Here, stand up. This isn't official. Stand up. Let's do it. So we'll do everybody in the order listed here. Brenda, Jenna, and then Sarah. We have the oath of office. Brenda, you're familiar with this. I'll ask you to repeat after me.
Wait, we gotta get the photo set.
Yeah,
Things there.
Too sweaty
Mike?
for photos.
Oh, wait a minute.
Should I move closer?
No, just
Wait,
one
my-
more time.
Yeah, the window is
The
not
light
good.
is kind of stinky, so.
The window is not
Here.
good.
I see. Okay, let's do that.
There we go. Moving over
We're
there.
gonna do
We're moving.
this.
Yeah, you don't want to take a picture against the window.
I'm gonna block you.
Nice
You wanna take a
festive
picture of the
flowers
back of my
behind
head,
you.
you
No, 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 over here, because
Yeah.
of the light.
The light's better over there.
All right.
By the way, this is
I can stand behind.
There you go.
Look,
Thank you.
Can have that in the picture. Brenda, repeat after me, the oath of office. I, Brenda Robinson,
I, Brenda Robinson,
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
do solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
since we're swearing to support it, we should raise our right hands as well, okay. And the Constitution of the State of New York,
And the Constitution of the State of New York.
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of my office of trustee of the Albany Public Library
I will faithfully discharge my duties as trustee of the Albany Public Library
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my
Jenna? All right, this time let's do this, yeah. I, Jenna Patera,
I, Jennifer Tara,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee of the Albany Public Library
and I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee of the Albany Public Library
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations.
Nice.
Swag.
It's not official.
Swag.
Yes.
I, Sarah Shearer,
I, Sarah Shearer,
do solemnly swear
do solemnly swear
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and the Constitution of the State of New York,
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee of the Albany Public Library
and that I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of trustee of the Albany Public Library
according to the best of my ability.
according to the best of my ability.
Congratulations. Done. Welcome aboard, everyone.
Welcome.
That third line is a mouthful, I don't.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Make that up.
you would have
Yeah, right.
thought by the third person I would have had a better cadence. But, you know, to the best of my ability, part of the oath is applicable to all of us. Okay, so next item on the agenda is the adoption of the agenda. Do I have a motion to adopt?
I'll
the
move to
agenda?
adopt it.
Andy, do I have a second?
I'll second.
Karen seconds. Any discussion? No? Any new items? No? All in favor?
Aye.
The agenda is adopted. We have a public comment opportunity. Is there any member of the public here that wishes to be heard? Okay, we'll revisit that later in the meeting. Adoption of the minutes. Does anyone have any amendments to the minutes from the June 27th or June 13th meeting? Do I have a motion to adopt the minutes as presented?
I'll
Mr.
make,
Ch-
Hold on.
Mr. Chairman, can we have a motion to adopt both sets if nobody's got any amendments?
that's fine.
Is that permissible?
Absolutely. Do I have a motion to adopt the June 27th minutes?
I actually had a question.
Sure.
In the draft minutes, there was a blank about the contract.
Yeah.
So does that need to be filled in before we adopt it? It's about when the contract
Yeah,
ends.
ends on.
First.
2000, yeah.
What is it?
December 31st, 2019.
With that information, I'll make a motion that we accept both minutes.
I'll second that.
All right. Does anybody have any further discussion? No. Voting on adopting both sets of minutes with the amendment for the June 27th minutes. Aye.
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 Nay? Abstentions? The minutes for both meetings are adopted. Treasurer's report and check register.
Just want to note, Mary Cullen, our CFO, is not here, so I'll be taking check register questions. I had 3 checks questioned already before the meeting. One is check 7189, which is our full year of workers' comp, or workers' compensation. Check 7208, which is our credit card bill. IT has a credit card with a small balance so that it can make purchases on Amazon and other places that won't do invoices. The majority of that cost was new networking equipment to create a separate network in the Washington Avenue building for our tenants. Some laptop equipment, we're moving all of our administrators over to laptops since they typically administer more than one building. And then some equipment for the makerspace as well.
Do you happen to know off the top of your head what the credit card limit is?
5.
Thank you.
And then check 7230, which is Dow Electric, but they are actually the individuals doing the painting in front of Washington Avenue.
Any additional questions or comments on the check register?
Did you say your question's about 4 checks?
Oh, 3.
Three.
Okay.
If you want to show, if you want to,
Go ahead.
you want to ask a
Yeah,
fourth, I don't
ask
have
away.
no problem with it.
Okay, if no one has any questions or concerns about the check register, we're gonna do a treasurer's report.
Our treasurer is here.
If you want to do that,
All right.
if anybody has any questions, I'd be more than willing to answer them. The first thing I would know is when he did mention the workman's comp being a full year, that will be amortized over the full year. That will not be hit 1 month lump sum. Okay, so it'll be written off on a monthly basis over the life of that policy. Okay? Other than that, Mary and I both discussed this financial report as we do every month before we even release it. So that if anything is in the report that may be out of line, we go and research it to find out what possibly is wrong or it doesn't really belong there. And I don't remember at the top of my head anything specifically wrong, except that I gotta tell you people, the easiest way to read this report is if you watch the percentage on the tax library operations. If all the other percentages are within that percentage point, then everything is basically in line with the budget. If they are over on the expense account, in other words, we're overspending. If the income is over, we're making more money, which is better. So, that's the best way to be able to judge this report when you're looking at it. Look at that first percentage report, and all the other ones should be basically in line. Now, you will notice there's one there that is really way out of line, and it's very difficult to maintain, and that's the interest income. Because we never know from 1 month to month what the market value is going to be, and that market value is adjusted to the actual market value of the bonds that we hold. Okay? Other than that, I can't have any other comments. If somebody wants any, I'll be more than happy to answer them.
Anybody have any questions, concerns on the treasurer's report? Okay. Do we have a motion to adopt the check register?
Make a motion.
I'll second.
Allison makes a motion to adopt, Andy seconds. Any further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye, nays, abstentions. Okay, the check register is adopted. Committee and liaison reports, we
You don't
have a report from the.
I have one question. If Chuck is here with us and some of us haven't met him, do we wanna talk a little bit about how we, what Chuck does as treasurer and how it is different than our VP of finance?
This actually might be a good opportunity since we have 2 new trustees.
Sure.
Chuck, you wanna talk a little bit more?
Basically, my duties include doing all the bank reconciliations, doing all the accounting work that is responsible, that goes through the general ledger process. That also includes signing all the checks that go through. Basically, that's it, but that does keep me pretty busy through the month. Because of the amount, as you can tell from the check register, that are being issued. It does keep me quite busy.
And you serve as a checks and balances to our finance department and also, so we as the board hire you separately, is that true?
Yes.
All right, so you work
Yeah,
for the
I'm
board.
an independent contractor.
That's right, and you work for the board.
Yes.
So you're our treasurer.
Right.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
exactly. And I also, at the same time, I make sure while I'm signing checks, that there are at least 2 signatures on all the invoices as to be the goods being received and or the services being provided. And then I will sign off as approving for payment.
Right.
That's another, actually a 3rd check of things being processed through the system.
And then also, we write checks once a month, except for payroll, and that gets approved by the board.
No, we also pay.
National Grid.
National
Oh, National Grid, yeah.
Yes, we also pay National Grid. Other than that, all the other ones are payroll related as to the 403Bs and the insurance and that type of thing, and the gross payroll, of course.
And those are all in keeping with the comptroller's recommendations for library boards and municipal
Yes,
funding. Okay.
yes.
Thank you.
Okay?
Thanks, Chuck. Pardon me. Committee reports, I think we have a report from the Facilities Committee.
The facilities committee minutes were included in the package, so were 2 brief items. One having to do with the facade, painting the facade of the Washington Avenue branch, and the other having to do with scheduling walkthroughs of the other branches in preparation for the facilities the facilities report, which is going to be like a 5-year capital plan. It's going to be an effort to try to inform the 5-year financial plan as to when certain projects will need to be done. How is the next branch that we plan to go through? We've gone through the Pine Hills branch, and there's a listing of hopefully to be determined and to be scheduled walkthroughs. I'm happy to answer any questions.
Anybody have any questions for Andy on the Facilities Committee report?
I have one quick question about the spending, this discussion about spending down the furniture and building improvements budget for the purpose of the facade paint work. So just, it said that we've spent about 18% of that total line. Is that, like, what is the fiscal year on that? And are we worried?
The calendar
The
year.
calendar year?
Yep.
Okay. And are we worried with the movements in like the Washington branch that there might be additional need for using that line item?
Well, I think we are, and that's why we've identified that the fund balance could also be used.
The fund balance could, okay.
But the board would have to vote to spend that money from the fund balance.
Yeah. Okay, thank you for the
Okay,
clarification.
sure.
If you haven't noticed, the painting has begun. Noticeable.
So we do have to pay for it somehow.
So if we have to pay for it because the bills are due and we use a different source, then what happens to the grant funding?
More,
We get that.
the grant funding right now is going to actually cover the painting.
Okay.
As of right now, as we all know with grants and working with DLD, there's a little bit of turbulence. There was some misfiling of paperwork. So right now, we're looking good. And Dan has been very good, and I have been really kind of keeping on top of this. So this is gonna develop as new things come up. We may scale back. The facilities committee is gonna have to meet, because we may scale back some of that project so that we're within budget.
And are the grants reimbursable grants?
Yes.
Okay, so,
It's a 75% match, so we have to fund 25% of the project.
Does anybody have any additional questions about the facilities committee report for Andy? Review of the policies and procedures grid.
Nothing has changed since last month. We've been working with the strategic plan, so a lot of the people on that committee have also been with the strategic plan and the North Albany ad hoc committees. And then with vacations and a changeover with the board, because we lost a couple of members with that, so.
Cool.
Hopefully, after committee assignments have been made, we'll get back on track after that. Plus the I know one of the policies we were holding off on was the employee safety policy, and now that the contract has been approved, we can move ahead on that one as well.
Great. We'll move on to the director's report.
So June was busy, I know I say that every month. Did a significant amount of outreach in preparation for summer reading. We purchased Bleecker last year, basically a big giant fuzzy owl.
You'll see a picture of him soon.
And he has made appearance, or he or she has made appearances in Upper Hill, Giffen, Delaware Community, and Eagle Point at the end of school. And the owl was extremely popular. And then we held summer reading kickoff events at 7 of our branches. Again, we're seeing growth in adult programming, including things like Paint and Sip, Dungeons and Dragons, and writing programs at Delaware. The Howell branch has a new librarian, Torloni. His name may be familiar because he is the most recent recipient of the Upper Hudson Library System Youth Services Award, and he's worked at several branches as basically a teen librarian, but we think he is definitely someone who has some qualities of a supervisor. Bach has seen a steady growth in its Library Links book delivery program in partnership with NORC, and is also starting to see growth in participation in book clubs. I actually met with Jen yesterday at the branch. We were really impressed. That was something that we thought was a trend that was kind of going away, but as trends do, they go away and they come back, and she's had some incredible success there with her book clubs. And Pine Hills hosted a successful art opening. This is, I will go on record, my favorite art show yet since I've been on board. It's illustrations, and it's fantastic. I know some board members and well, now board members were at the opening, but if you have not had a chance to swing by, it's really a great show, and it has received a tremendous amount of positive feedback. The Washington Ave branch is piloting a bike lock lending program. We're really excited about this. The TU did an article. Actually, the article was done because we did an April Fool's joke about lending chickens, and the writer really enjoyed the April Fool's joke, so she actually did a great piece. I think it's behind a paywall though, about what libraries lend out now, and this kind of reminded us we had purchased these bike locks, and Sarah got right on top of it and started a bike lock lending program. And also, we've had guitars sitting around the 3rd floor, and now we will be lending guitars as well. Arbor Hill West Hill has seen a resurgence in its Chess and Friends Poetry Slam, 2 programs that I absolutely love, and we're excited to see the numbers pop back up there as well. And then there's been a lot of excitement on the third floor of Washington Avenue. We've been shuffling offices around. As you know, we've signed the lease with ACAP, so we got their check for rent. I'm very happy to receive that. Class won't start till September 6th.
Could you
but
remind us what ACAP is?
ACAP is the Head Start, so it's Albany County Action Partnership.
Community action.
Partnership. So they will be the ones operating the Head Start program on the third floor. So they have yet to move in, but they're going through all their inspections, and they are officially tenants of the Albany Public Library. And then also Cycle, we now have the 128 bicycles in our basement, and we're hoping by next week they'll actually start operating out of that office as well. In terms of development, Literary Libations, this is not a surprise, was a huge success. It made about $1,100. The Junior Gala, please put this on your calendar, is August 27th. Foundation has come up with a fantastic idea of not just doing its regular gala, but doing a family gala. I'm not sure what the tickets have landed at yet, but it'll be, a small ask, 20 or 25.
I think it was 25 for a family up to 5 members, and then $5 for each
And
additional.
this will be at Bach, it'll be ice cream and dancing and fun had by all. And also they're planning our first annual Bike the Branches fundraiser, which please put on your calendar for September 16th. Upper Hudson has done a soft launch of their system-wide mobile app. We've had an app for some time now, but they've actually started using some central reference library funds to do an app, and we will actually be moving our app users over to their app because it'll save us some money. What's also good about this is the fact that it almost looks like the same app. You'll actually see Albany Public Library on it. And I think it'll be helpful. We have, I think it'll grow usage for both us and the system. And also the DLD portal is open, Department of Library Development. That's the portal that we do our construction grants, so the Facilities Committee will be meeting soon to talk about projects. Some additional good news is as the ad hoc committee, the North Albany ad hoc committee continues to work on this branch, the Y has agreed not to raise our rent until 2018. So we're very happy about that. Some notes on statistics. The e-circulation is not down by, crossed it out too much.
2%.
2%, it's actually up by 19%. Kudos to the Arbor Hill West Hill branch, which saw growth in everything but Wi-Fi. And again, our Wi-Fi numbers are down significantly because we have, at the request of our network people, created a splash page, which is really we'll have to do an extra step to sign into our Wi-Fi. We saw Pine Hills with growth in program attendance and meeting room usage, and Howe with growth in circulation, which we love, and meeting room usage as well. And that's it for my report. I'll take questions.
I was interested to see at Howe that you're doing gender-neutral bathrooms. Is that because they're single stall? Okay, and is there any plans for any of the other ones?
We actually have been doing gender neutral at Howe for about a year and a half now. We've done one gender neutral at Washington Avenue, which I would absolutely love to have all of them to be gender neutral. And I don't think we've discussed it in any other branches, but that might be something we explore in the future. The reason why it works well at Howe is because you have to go to the desk and get a key to use the bathroom. Somewhere like Bach, the bathrooms are actually down that hallway. That might be harder to do.
And what about, who has replaced Chris at Washington Avenue?
Good question. Sorry, that'll be next month's report, but I'll announce it here. Sarah Clark. Sarah Clark's name should be familiar. She's been the person in charge of creative services. She's the person behind reading music and bands in the garage. We're really happy to kind of promote our own. We were really excited when she offered, when she said she wanted to apply for the position, and she interviewed well. I will say though, we had 3 internal candidates, and all 3 were fantastic.
It's wonderful. That's great news.
As someone off record said, APL has a very deep bench. So not surprised that this person was an internal candidate. We seem to grow leaders that not only grow in the organization, but also go to other libraries and become members.
We can take a rest of that.
can you spell out the acronym NORC? I think it's
What is it?
What aim is
Naturally occurring retirement community.
neighborhood naturally occurring?
Yeah. Well,
Okay.
the N in that particular one, I think, is northeast.
Okay,
Isn't it naturally?
Yeah, it's naturally
It's naturally occurring retirement community, but the one in the Bach neighborhood is
And
the northeast naturally, I believe.
Yeah, there's
That's why there's
ends
two
in
N's
there.
at the beginning.
Yeah.
okay. And Library Links delivers books to seniors?
Using volunteers, yes.
Okay.
And we have, well,
Yes.
Amy, who is our outreach coordinator, what, we're also at what retirement communities?
We're now delivering to 5 senior housing facilities. I can't remember because we altered it slightly, but I can send something out if you want. And we have an expansion plan for Library Links. We're going to Pine Hills within the next couple of weeks, then Delaware, and then I think Arbor and Washington. We're just gonna roll out everywhere slowly. By September, we'll be in all 7 locations.
Sure, I'd love to know the senior locations. If you could send them out,
Sure,
that'd be great.
yeah.
Thank you.
Any additional questions for Scott on the director's report? Unfinished business, strategic plan presentation.
Give me a second to. Get back up and moving. I apologize. There we go. So, in front of you, you guys all have the draft of our strategic plan. This has been probably over a year in the making. So we'll go through. Turn that on. There's no way, so we'll just do it this way. And I apologize, my computer is freezing up.
Always happens at this time.
Always happens. No? Okay. My mouse is working. Okay, well, I'll just walk you through what we were doing anyway. So, what we did, our method for going through the strategic plan was we brought in a consultant. I don't know why it's frozen. We brought in a consultant to go through the process with us, and we started off with doing focus groups throughout the city. We did focus groups with users, both adult users and teen users. We brought in staff members, so we did a focus group with staff members. We did a focus group with
Very cute.
a couple weeks ago on vacation.
Looks nice.
I like that strategy.
That's a strategy I
You
would
could
love
use
to-
a little more of that
Yes.
strategy.
Nice relaxing on the beach. And we also did focus groups with some of our stakeholders. So we did one specifically with the Friends and the Foundation. And I think we had included a couple board members with that as well because we do have some overlap. After that, after the focus group, all the comments and suggestions and data was pulled together, and that was about November of last year when we had our board retreat. So all the members of the board got together, we met at Campus South Capitol South Campus Center, and with a couple of our senior staff members of Albany Public Library. And we kind of delved into the data a little bit more, had some breakout sessions, and we talked about where we as a board saw APL going, where we wanted to go in the future. At the time, Anne, who was our consultant, gave us kind of a brief outline where we felt it wasn't fleshed out. So at that time, an ad hoc committee was formed to kind of take a step back, really come together to figure out where we wanted to go with the strategic plan. Because while Anne was wonderful, she didn't really have the correct spin on things. There was nothing really concrete to hold on to. So it was Brenda, Karen, Mary Ellen, Arlene were on the ad hoc committee. Amy was our chairperson for the committee, and I served on it as well. And then, no problem, okay, no problem. And then as we started working on things, we pulled in obviously Scott's. So, let's see. Our method, as if we were going through, so we formed the ad hoc committee. So I'll go to our next slide here. So here, like I said, was our focus group and stakeholders. By any chance, there's Bleecker for those of you who have not seen Bleecker yet. So we also pulled Scott, Mary Kuhn, Rebecca Lubin, Chris Sagas while he was still with us, Mary Cullinan and Stephanie Simon in at various points of the reworking of the strategic plan. And they were brought in mainly to clarify the statements to make sure that they aligned with our public service operations, because while it's great having all the input from the board and from the consultant, sometimes you need to know what's happening, boots on the ground. And so they were the ones who were able to make sure that all of our goals, our strategies, our tactics were all aligned and would be able to be actually accomplished by APL staff. So then we did that over the last 6 months, from like November through about April-ish. And then the last month, May through June, we've kind of worked on polishing it. So we've gone through, realigned things, reworded things, and got things, everything aligned to where we needed it to go. Here we go. Once we started really working the strategic plan, we realized we had our mission statement. Albany Public Library educates, entertains, and empowers our community. But we had no vision statement. So part of the strategic plan ad hoc committee worked on creating our vision. So our vision statement now is APL is a hub of the Albany community that empowers people of all ages, abilities, ethnicities, and income levels to find, use, and evaluate information. APL enables discovery, lifelong learning, social interaction, and civic participation by providing services in response to the needs and interests of our diverse community. APL has a vital education role in the city and is a major stakeholder in key community discussions. APL also has a vital role in the region as a central library of the Upper Hudson Library System. So, far-reaching statement kind of encompasses all we do in alignment with the mission statement. And then we have our values, and they go into detail. I just kind of highlighted them here, but if you look at the strategic plan document that you have.
Page 7.
I'm sorry?
Page 7.
Page 7, thank you. So our values for APL are literacy, discovery, empathy, integrity, service, collaboration, and privacy. So now we have our mission, we have our vision, we have our value statement. We've worked on our goals, and we just determined 5 goal focal points. that's audience and advocacy, programs and services, facilities and equipment, organizational excellence, and financial stability, sustainability. And once again, if you start looking at the document, starting on page 8, you'll see each goal. So for audience and advocacy, APL is an anchor for the community in the region. It is responsive to the emerging needs of an increasingly diverse population by improving equitable access to library resources and encouraging user participation. And so we've listed our strategies of what we would like to accomplish in the next 3 years, because this is a 3-year strategic plan document. So we have our strategies, what we would like to accomplish, how our tactics outline how we will go about accomplishing those strategies, and then we have our success indicators. So if you look at our success indicators, we do a biannual survey twice a year, and so we're hoping that 90 to 95% of biannual survey respondents rank customer service as high or very high. Increase the number of active cardholders who regularly visit the library by 50%. So if everybody has heard us speak before, we have a great deal of library card holders. We're at 63%, and probably over that at this point, of Albany City residents, over 66%, so over 2/3 of our library, or our city residents have library cards. We want the ones who are actively using them to become more active. You'll have all staff will attend at least 10 hours of professional development training per year that will help with the advocacy, and increase the number of staff trustees who represent the library as members of outside boards and organizations. So we want, that increase. We'll also see an increase by 10% of the number of staff who present programs and training at other organizations such as NYLA, other ALA, and other professional organizations. NYLA is the New York Library Association, ALA is the American Library Association. And increase the number and depth of formal partnerships with organizations charged with addressing social and educational issues. Some of our partnerships that we already currently have are Capital Roots, Albany Promise, Department of Recs. We'd like to increase those partnerships. So for programs and services, APL is a vital learning hub that promotes literacy, lifelong learning, and civic participation in ways that are dynamic and relevant to our diverse community. Once again, we laid out strategies and tactics. Our success indicators that we're hoping to accomplish is that 15% of programming budget is provided by community partners. So we're hoping, instead of us paying to provide programming, that some of our community partners will provide them to us instead. We're hoping that 50% of our program attendance goal is met. We're hoping to set goals for attendance at all of our programs. So, we're offering a story time. We're hoping to have at least, 20 kids at each story time, just throwing a number out there. And so we're hoping that, 50% of that goal is met at all of our programs. And we're hoping to reach 30,000 active engagements with people each year via outreach and mobile services. So this is events such as the Kids Expo, Tulip Fest, Art on Lark, Stories in the Park. We're hoping that we can hit 30,000 individuals through those.
Do we know what we are hitting now?
We haven't.
We haven't defined what that means exactly yet, so we don't have a number yet,
But that is something
need a
that we are
baseline.
hoping to have by the time this gets completed. 20% of our programs offered will have a focus on digital literacy, since we have outlined that as one of our core focuses. 75% of participants report satisfaction after attending programs designed as meeting critical or emerging needs. Increased meeting room usage by outside organizations by 25%. Increased patron satisfaction with meeting room reservation process and on-site usage. Increased by 50% the number of MiFi devices available for loan to Albany City residents, and the MiFi are the hotspots that we loan out for free wireless access. And increased by 25% the amount of digital literacy programming offered at each location, since that is one of our focuses. For facilities and equipment, APL maintains and improves attractive, safe, and right-sized library spaces for traditional and non-traditional activities that are welcoming, accessible, energy efficient, and technologically advanced. Our success indicators for that are we completed or updated facilities master plan that incorporates new audience and service strategies, increase the average length of time spent by users in the library. So, we don't want the people coming in, grabbing a book and leaving. We want them to be more engaged while using the library. Reduce or eliminate backlog of maintenance repair projects. And we are hoping that 100% of all of our buildings meet the ADA standards.
How many do not right now?
Believe one. We technically meet all. One is because we are grandfathered in the Washington Avenue
Yeah.
location.
Right, I was gonna figure that.
Is
The ramp in the back.
the ramp in the back.
Absolutely.
So we're hoping that within the next 3 years that can be remedied. Organizational excellence. We stated that APL fosters a healthy organizational culture that has the networks and tools to make the best use of its human resources. APL realistically aligns programs and services with its capacity by evaluating past practice and analyzing current performance. So our success indicators for this one are that we hope to host 2 to 4 Masters of Science in Information Systems program interns per year. Currently we host 1, so we're hoping to increase that. Annual volunteer contact hours total at least 1,000. On our last statement, I think, we average around 100 hours a month right now.
Varies month to month.
It varies month to
Yeah,
month.
average.
Sometimes we go over 100, sometimes we're more like 50. It depends, especially in the summertime, we tend to dip. 5 to 10 year staffing plan created that identifies new staff or contract positions, professional development needs and opportunities, and funding sources. Once again, we have stated it before in past board retreats and board meetings that we are pretty much operating on a skeletal staff. We really could use additional staff to fully support our services that we're offering. So we will create a staffing plan that will help address that. Independent surveys report that a majority of Albany residents know what APL does. Because a lot of times we go out into the community and people are like, oh, libraries are passé, they're going away, you guys loan out books, books are going away. So they really don't know what we do, so we'd like to see that increase. Advisory committees established that inform all key mission areas, youth services, adult services, and outreach. So we're hoping, like right now, each branch kind of does their own thing. We're hoping to kind of centralize that and have curriculums and overarching plans for each of those service areas. And along with that, a document to provide best practice for adult and youth service programming. A process of regular library user feedback for program analysis has been developed. That's what we're hoping for. And then professional development guidelines have been created and utilized. And I know with the adoption of this current contract, there is now a professional development requirement laid out in the contract. So that has we're already moving in the right direction for that one. And our last one is financial sustainability. APL identifies and grows reliable sources of general operating and endowment support and explores alternative business models. So here's the one where we have a lot of success indicators for. Percentage of our budget cuts achieved through strategic reductions in select activities versus percentage achieved through across the board cuts.
Wait.
We missed a word there. You're looking at the success indicators for our last one, the financial sustainability. We had a percentage listed for that. I don't remember what that was. We'll get that back to you. It was.
Yeah, so
I'd
you
say
wanna,
the first two.
you wanna make strategic reductions rather than across the board.
Right. And we had a percentage that was made up for that one and the next one, percentage of budget directly dedicated to
Do we
programs.
feel like we know a percentage of what we do now?
I believe we do, and I believe if we looked at one of our other draft documents, we actually had percentages listed. Number of years with a balanced budget over the last 5 years to reduce the fund balance usage by 10% each year. Increase percentage of operating expenses paid from endowment proceeds. We'd like to see a 25% increase in Friends membership. Meet with the Friends and Foundation to develop working groups to encourage board members of both to attend APL board meetings.
Wait,
Oh, sorry.
We don't have an endowment.
No, we'd like to start one with the foundation.
Okay.
And we would like to increase-
You do know that you can't even begin to take endowment proceeds, operating, anything from it until you built up enough that
Exactly.
you can take a percentage of it.
Right. We do know that. So it should have been established.
Yeah, and establish and, have a timeline for, project out. You gotta raise $1 million before you can take,
Right.
anything.
Yes.
Okay, because that's ambitious, to take proceeds you haven't raised yet.
So meet with Friends and Foundation to develop working groups, encourage board members of both to attend APL board meetings and get periodic reports from them. Amount of fundraising increased by at least 10% annually. Amount of funding from municipalities is increased. We've talked about that in the past, especially with the North Albany Ad Hoc Committee, that, we are the central library for Albany and Rensselaer counties, yet we do not receive any funds from either municipality, so we would like to see that increased, actually paid out at some point. Our public budget vote is passed anytime we go out for one, and the percentage of income from rentals, renting facilities at Washington Avenue is increased. So, once again, this is a draft, we are working on cleaning a lot of it up, and everything always comes back to our mission statement.
So, Melanie, I have a question. So, on the cover here, I noticed that the board, will take action on this on August 8th. Until then, obviously, everyone has an opportunity to review it. If, any member of the board were to have, suggested changes, what's the proper way for them to communicate those?
Okay. They're going to Amy.
Okay.
And what deadline? When do you want this by?
Yeah, we said 2 weeks. We felt that gave us enough time to put it together so you could get it ahead of the meeting.
2 weeks from today.
Yeah.
Tomorrow I'll send an email to everybody with an e-version of the strategic plan and details about how to get information to Amy.
So, 2 weeks, and then the document will be amended, redistributed, everybody will have a chance to
And we'll
review.
probably have that strategic plan committee meet.
Okay.
I know we're missing 2 of our members now, but the remaining members will meet as well to help go over that.
Great. Does anybody, given that we're gonna have an opportunity to review, does anybody have any immediate questions, or comments for Melanie? Okay.
I have just a off the cuff, haven't studied it, response that, I think, committee members, I think you spent a lot of time capturing a lot of the concerns that we have had, especially around the finance. Separating organizational excellence and finance, I thought is a really good move. The staffing piece, I'm still just a little worried that, or maybe you can direct me to where we identify that we worry about being understaffed. Is kind of the crux of, to run this ambitious organization, are we appropriately staffed?
Well, I know, like, in the first part of the plan, during like the executive summary portion of it, we talk about, A library is only as good as its staff, on page 4. So in this plan demonstrates a conscious effort to best prepare our human resources to provide the finest possible service to the community. We understand that to do that, staffing is the most important part of that. To be able to provide the best service, we need the staffing. I don't think we outlined specifically in the plan, we didn't come out and say that we're short on staff. We didn't feel that was necessarily a statement that needed to be made, but we did, during the success indicators unit, we did address that. We will be looking at what is adequate staffing, and we will create that staffing plan to address what is needed for adequate staffing at all the branches. That was
Where is that one?
That was the,
Page 11.
page 11, thank you.
Oh, 5.
The 5 to 10 year staffing plan created that identifies new staff and contract positions.
Yeah, so that worries me, that the biggest concern we keep coming back to, we have a lot of confidence in the staff to implement the mission and vision. You guys get it. But what we hear from administration is that the big concerns are we adequately staffed? And are we safely staffing?
Right.
And so I think they really do need to be in goals and strategies. And that one that you're referring to, 5-year staffing plan created that identifies new staff contract positions. I mean, I think we're still working not on new positions, but adequate positions. I mean, I'm interested in seeing what you would suggest for new positions, but I'm more interested in knowing how we're gonna stabilize the staffing situation.
Well, I think by new positions, we don't mean new titles, we actually mean additional clerks, additional.
No, but I do think there's new
Well, there,
positions.
as well though, but I mean, I'm saying that by new positions, we don't mean exclusively new titles. We understand that new, cause as we have on the books right now, we don't have these positions on the books, so we'll have to create those as new positions. I think
So
that's how-
I'll make some recommendations in the next 2 weeks that we add to organizational excellence some language about,
Additional-
have ensure, in strategies, ensure that
Yeah.
APL has the right staff.
Right.
Maybe there's enough or adequate.
We can expand that language in that.
Yeah.
I'm sorry?
We can expand the language in an existing strategy or tactic probably to encompass that idea.
I just think we have to put more urgency, because we keep coming, when we say to Scott, what's the problem? Where are the problems? You're like, okay, staffing. So it seems to me like, let's get that,
And
let's put it in there.
That's informed by surveys, meetings, and the focus groups,
what is?
the staff
Staff.
and staff. That's, that's not
It's not just us,
our
yeah.
observations. That's informed specifically by the staff survey that we do every year. And that continues to be the number one issue. And it also was something that was recognized in some of the focus groups. And something that is gonna be necessary, one thing we've been asked to do is be in the community more. And that is,
Well, then we need to identify it in that way. If we're being asked to do this,
Definitely, we definitely understand that. I think you're just looking for a better emphasis of it,
an
which we can.
urgency about it.
Right.
Okay.
And I think, we do have to, temper this with the understanding that it also ties in with the financial sustainability as well, because we could add 20 new positions tomorrow, but we have to also have the funds behind it to fund those.
Yeah, and
And be able, it's great to be able to offer a position today because we're flush on money, but if we can't sustain the position for more than 2 years or more than 3 years, we shouldn't be adding it. So that's what that's why I say we just have to be careful about how much emphasis we give it without tempering it with or balancing it with the financial sustainability as with it
And
as
it's
well.
also placement of people, it's not necessarily addition of people, but looking at the resources as we have them now. We go out every year and it's clear in every meeting that we're at that people are not necessarily, they vote for us because they support us, but they're not necessarily excited. Brenda saved me from a meeting, that I didn't know if I was gonna get out alive. So, we do have to be conscious of the taxpayers, and we also have to look at the way we operate and whether or not there are resources that we can reallocate and move. And also the creation of new positions. I will never stop advocating, especially after a meeting I had yesterday with a librarian at the Bach branch. Not typically a library you would think of when we talk about having some type of case manager or a social worker. However, the conversation we had in the end, I said, well, some of this would be solved if we had a social worker or a caseworker. So the way libraries are evolving, we have to look at, if you look at our statistics, our circulation, our physical circulation numbers go down. Our e-circulation numbers keep our overall circulation up. So we have to be very smart in the way we use our resources. If people are spending more time in our buildings, that means they may need other resources or depend on other resources. Our reference numbers, which we will start reporting very soon, went up last year, and they go up every year with fake. The boom in fake news also means that people do not trust the internet the way they used to, and we have seen libraries across the board have seen reference questions going up because instead of Googling, I'm gonna call the desk and get Barbara or Amy and ask whether or not the tick bite is. Sorry, I was just nervous about that earlier this week. Whether or not the tick bite was the right kind of tick bite and who I should call. So we have to look at the way we do business and reallocate. We do need more staff no matter what, but also I think there's adjustments that need to be made. So it's right sizing the organization as well.
And we have in the plan for 2018, a social worker for staff.
We do, but at this point, looking at the budget, that may not happen.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, and some of that has to do with just some of the things that we've made changes in. And some of that has to do with really just looking at the budget once 2018 comes closer. It is very hard for us to make an estimate on a budget sometimes in the year we're living in it, never mind that far ahead of time. So we have to really look at that staffing model again. Because then the question becomes, do we get a social worker or do we get a volunteer coordinator? We'll be losing our VISTA at the end of the year. This is not just a wonderful, I can't speak highly enough of our current VISTA. Not only is she a wonderful person, and has been fantastic in the position, this is someone who basically takes a vow of poverty. She's making $17,000 a year to do this program. This is the sunset year for that program. So now Amy and I are looking at outreach and how much outreach that we're doing. We need someone. We will lose a significant amount of manpower and volunteers if that position is not filled in one way or another. So it is a constant game of moving pieces, and moving into a strategic plan year makes it even more difficult.
Thank you.
We'd like to get somebody else in the bleaker outfit.
800 volunteer hours need to be supervised, some point coordinated.
Absolutely.
I have been periodically pulling out the old strategic plan from APL because of precisely the format, which, started like this, but then there was a chart format, just so that we can include it in every board meeting packet. And I realize that what we don't have here are a timeline or dates next to various things. Is that something that we're gonna be doing, or?
Yes.
Okay, so I just think that the chart format is very helpful, and the board needs to see this every board meeting. And we need to highlight, I know you do a lot of work in highlighting stuff for us, but that's very helpful, like, what aren't we dealing with?
And we are working on an online dashboard, and we're hoping some of that can be reported in an online dashboard. Melanie's done a significant amount of work in that.
one of the things that has been discussed with the strategic plan committee and the side committee of supervisors that have been working on this is that once this is solidified, there will be an additional meeting, whether it be the strategic plan committee or the board as a whole, a conversation of what, ranking everything, kind of what are our priorities, where do we, and so we'll get board input on that first, so we can, and staff input as well. Where does staff see that we need to focus immediately versus stuff that we can hold up. And once again, this is only a 3-year document, this is not like 10 years out in the road, this is for the next 3 years. So we will be ranking those and creating that grid. The grid has been actually shown to the ad hoc committee and to the additional staff members that we had working on this, to show what we've done in the past, where we have the grid that shows that it's been completed or where we are in the timeline with that. And like Scott says, that's a document that can easily be put up on the dashboard once we get that going.
I mean, it's important for a strategic plan to be living.
Yes, absolutely, and this can,
We need to pivot.
right. It's our number 2 responsibility beyond fiduciary is planning. So this is great, thank you. Thank you, Amy. Nicely done.
And the committee has spent a considerable
Yes.
amount of time on
So
this.
Brendan,
Very deep conversations, so.
Thank you.
Good work by all. We're gonna move on to new business, appointment of board treasurer.
Oh, we made him wait
Should I
this
leave?
whole time? You're kidding. Poor guy. Come off the golf course.
I played golf today and I did very well, so don't worry about it.
You don't have to feel so bad.
I actually, I have no guidance from Bob or,
Someone should nominate Charles.
Sure.
As we would.
I'll make a motion that we elect, do we elect, is that the word? Charles to be our treasurer.
Allison
second
makes
that.
a motion to elect Charles as treasurer, Brenda seconds, any discussion?
I think he does a fantastic job. So.
Seeing,
Thank you.
none, let's have a vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Abstentions? Oh,
Thank you, Chuck.
Yes.
You've been
Well
at
done.
this a long
Thank you.
time. Good overhaul.
Yeah, I think so. I think
Overview.
18 will be 20 years.
20 years.
Yeah, I think so. I started in 98, I think.
Wow.
So you've seen, how many directors? Oh, we won't count.
I've seen a few.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Thank
Election.
you for the confidence too, board.
Of course. Election of board officers. So as everyone knows, the current officers have reached the end of their term. So we'll be looking for nominations for a new president, a new vice president, a new vice president of finance, and a secretary. And by new, I just mean new terms. So the first office we will consider is the office of board president. Are there any members of the board that would like to nominate a colleague for the office of board president?
I'd like to nominate Karen Strong for board president.
Alyssa nominates Karen Strong for board
I'll
president.
second that.
Second that. Are there any other names anyone would like to place into consideration? Okay, seeing none, we will have a vote. All in favor of Karen becoming board president, say aye.
Aye.
Nays? Abstentions? All right, congratulations, Karen.
Big shoes to fill, darling.
Nice.
Nice. I go for the purses, frankly. So,
Next, we'll open nominations for the office of Vice President. Does any trustee wish to make a nomination?
I want to nominate Andrew Bouchard for vice president.
All right, Karen nominates Andrew Bouchard for Vice President. Is there a second to that nomination?
I'll second.
Allison seconds. Are there any other nominations for Vice President? All right, hearing no further nominations, I'll entertain a motion to close nominations, which I guess we should have done before as well.
I'll close nominations.
Great. I'll second that. All in favor of closing nominations, please say aye.
Aye.
Great. Motion carries. Nominations are closed. I'll now call for the election of Vice President. All of those in favor of Andrew Bouchard, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any nays? Okay. Based on that, Andrew Bouchard will be Vice President for 2017-2018.
Thank you for the support.
Next, we'll have nominations for the office of Vice President of Finance. Does any trustee wish to make a nomination?
I'd like to nominate Allison Calico for Vice President of Finance.
Excellent.
I'll second that nomination.
Excellent. Matthew nominates Allison. Andy seconds. Are there any other nominations for Vice President of Finance? Great. I'll entertain a motion to close nominations for Vice President. Okay, this is all really unnecessary, but.
I'll second.
Okay, great. All in favor of closing nominations, say aye.
Aye.
Great.
I think Stephanie's really enjoying making all the traffic.
Oh, God.
This is all pretty easy because everyone's in favor of everything. Okay.
Should I object to the secretary then?
Absolutely not.
Took it out.
So
We don't
we'll
break
now have the
rank.
election for Vice President of Finance. All in favor of Allison, say aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? None. Based on that vote, congratulations, Allison. Okay, we'll now entertain nominations for the office of Secretary. I would like to nominate Brenda Robinson to serve as Secretary. Is there a second?
I'll second that.
It's Alyssa, seconds. All in favor of, I make a motion to close nominations. Anyone second?
Second it.
Great. All in favor of closing nominations?
Aye.
Aye. So nominations are closed. We'll now have the election of Brenda for Secretary. All of those in favor of Brenda, aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Any abstentions? No. Okay. Brenda, congratulations.
Unanimous executive committee. That's wonderful.
Congratulations to all of the new officers, having served with all of you for at least a year. I think you all do a bang-up job. Okay, appointment of UHLS liaison.
Well, there's a tricky one.
Talk about what that is.
Bob, was
You
it
should probably
the
state that
finance
it's a
meeting?
Yeah.
4:00 meeting.
Is it 4 or 3?
It's a 4:00 start, I think, for the regular meeting, and a 3 or 3:30
next
for
meeting.
committee meeting.
Where does it happen?
What is it?
I think I do.
Let's describe what it is.
The UHLS committee meets once a month. It's usually the day after this board meeting.
It's the board. It's the Upper
It's the
Hudson
board.
Library.
Board.
Yeah,
the
Upper
Hudson
Hudson,
Library
it's
System.
at Essex Street in Albany.
Sometimes they move it around.
Usually once or maybe twice a year, they have it at a library, a different library. Usually around September, October, that time. And the meetings, however, start at 4:00 unless they change that time.
Table?
And the committee meetings are then at 3 or 3:30. So that's the problem. We've
That's the
tried,
crux.
yeah, we've tried to move them, but
I actually went on record on Friday to speak my mind on that. Because there is no interest. It does not need to be a member of the board. They changed their bylaws last year in response to this. So we may also make a decision that maybe it's someone from our foundation board or our friends board or a former board member. I know that they're chomping at the bit to get a representative, however, I think maybe this group needs to think about it and come back with another person that maybe, since you're all busy people, maybe it's someone else.
Could it be a staff member or would it have?
Can't be staff.
I think that's a great suggestion, given that we have a new slate of executive officers. I think any appointments should really be deferred until they have an opportunity to discuss amongst themselves.
I can't remember what Arlene said, whether she would continue to serve if asked.
Well, she's gone on to the foundation board,
So she could,
and she is a person with experience with the UA HLS board. So she's certainly a consideration.
You may want to approach her.
Can I make a recommendation that we ask Arlene if she'd like to continue? If nobody's
Yeah, I think
interested
that's a
here?
Good idea. Well, is anybody interested?
well, I
Nobody-
am interested, but I think it actually puts Upper Hudson at a disadvantage, because I'm a staff member for an assemblywoman. So it means that,
Or put some fear of God into them.
well, if Upper Hudson,
I don't know if there would be an issue
I don't either. I'm being
there,
facetious.
yeah. I think there might be a conflict.
well, it puts this board at some disadvantage. It means that you can't receive a grant from Cafe's
Yeah.
office.
I don't think we need to make a motion or anything to move this to the next meeting, but, you know, I think, given that we have a couple new board members, maybe we come back next time with a description, you know, of what this is, so everybody can fully consider it in the new.
But let me just ask though, it puts Upper Hudson at a disadvantage because it needs, don't they have decisions coming up, budget or?
Generally, they have an August meeting, so it would be just this meeting for this month, but then by September, you'd want somebody on there because that's when like the DLD grants decisions are made and.
Yeah.
I mean, I expect we'll have an executive committee meeting this month, because we need to deal with all the committee.
Oh, well, one of the considerations for having an Upper Hudson Library representative who's not on the board is that they would really need to come to these board meetings to be able to report.
Right.
Because they're essentially our liaison.
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't make sense if Arlene's not able to come to board meetings, and frankly, that's a big lift.
I'll put my hat in if Arlene doesn't want to. Because with my school schedule, I can do the early meetings. I get out at 3.
That's nice.
That is nice.
Give that man a
Alright.
job.
What school do
You
you?
know, if we held out long
Okay.
enough, someone would step up. So then are we settled?
Oh, now I see how you Now I
Are we
get it.
still deferring this, or?
Does somebody
No,
want to ask
we should-
that
I
one
think
first?
I think you
Yeah.
jump on it,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah, let's jump on it,
Let her
man.
change.
Hands up? Okay, I will nominate Matthew to serve as the UH.
Yeah, second that.
Library
Yeah.
teacher.
Brenda
Seconds
seconds.
it.
Yeah.
All in favor of Matthew serving as liaison, say aye.
Good.
Aye, any nays, abstentions? That happened quick.
Whoa.
Enjoy.
Listed on here is.
You know how
board-
cranky I can get.
You know what, they need to be shaken up a little bit there, Matthew.
Board committee placements / interest. It honestly was unclear to me whether I hand this meeting over after the election of new officers. Bob didn't mention it. I
You know,
think
what's
I
funny is
do.
I've never served on the board where the president switched.
Right.
So I have no recollection of
I mean, it makes sense to me that I do, but,
I didn't prepare.
right, yeah, so, you know, I mean, I think just
The
putting this
facility.
out there, this is something that really is for the new executive committee to
Yes.
discuss. I think we
Yeah.
can just strike this.
You know, typically how we've handled it in the past is we have our new trustee intake sheets, and they've expressed their interest. I think Mary Ellen last year just asked for you to email her
Yeah.
your interest, so I would, if Karen's open to that, I might be just communicate with Karen whether or not you're interested in staying on the committees you're on, or if you're interested in new and exciting committees. And also keep in mind that we will need one person on the North Albany ad hoc, 2 people for both of those. Mary Ellen.
Mary Ellen was
No,
not on
Arlene.
North Albany.
So
It
we'll
was
need
just-
somebody for the North
Arlene.
Albany committee,
And
and we
then
will
we lost Arlene,
policy.
policy
Strategic.
and strategic plan.
So, I'm not gonna just have you email me, I'll send out like a survey
That'd
or
be
something,
good.
so it's
Yeah, that'd be awesome.
the just results. So we're just the regular standing committees plus North Albany ad hoc and strategic plan, any other, that would be it.
I think that was it.
All right. Let's move on to a public comment section. Are there any members of the public here that have any real problems with us? Or just love us so much? All right, seeing none. I don't think there's any need for executive session unless someone is keeping something in their pocket. Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn.
Do you have a second?
Second.
All right.
Yay!